One more game to go, and what a game to end it all on. This is the North American Overwatch Open. 2 days ahead of us. Of course, Sunday, we do have your semis, and we'll be crowning another team a champion, securing that spot in the guaranteed spot in the playoffs. $300,000 on the line and a spot on not only television, but also at the ELEAGUE Arena in Atlanta. I'm your host, Alex Machine Richardson, and for one last time, I'm going to be walking you through how this tournament is structured, as well as getting you excited for Selfless versus Liquid with a very special guest amongst the Liquid roster. For now, though, introductions alongside ZP and Jurasar. You guys are going to be casting this game. You feeling hyped to see Quake legend Rafa along the ranks for Liquid?
Yeah, so Rafa, we've seen him in and about Overwatch competition for a while, but he hasn't been on a team that's really gotten a whole lot done. But I've always been impressed by his play. Of course, there was a point where he was incredibly good at Pharah, but of course, Pharah we see a little bit less over here. But still, Rafa's a player that I think he just needs to be on the right team for Overwatch to excel. He's known for his intelligence. He's a player that I would assume that could add some degree of extra decision-making to Team Liquid and sort of keep the decisions good on their side. I mean, we'll have to see. It's always hard to sort of interpret those things, but certainly you look at his Quake resume, pretty smart player, pretty good overall package, and we'll see if it's what Liquid needs to take the next step. Yeah,
pretty good. Perhaps a little bit of an understatement. We'll be talking more about him in just a moment. First, though, let me walk you through what on earth this is. I've told you once, and I will tell you again. It's called Overwatch Open for a reason. Because, of course, 256 spots were available to you guys at home. I say you guys, anybody can sign up at FACEIT.com. Of course, information on OverwatchOpen.com. And you're available through the open brackets to try and battle for a spot in these qualifiers. 4 teams do get them, and then through the leaderboards, you can secure yourself the necessary points to get to the playoffs, where 16 teams on both regions are going to be battling for those spots at the ELEAGUE Arena. It is a dream, really, for a lot of these people, just trying to go prove what they're made of in a new game that is Overwatch, and the live finals played out in that ELEAGUE Arena. Where does it stand currently, though? This is the leaderboard for North America. 3 already taken. Envy, Cloud9, and Fnatic are already comfortably sitting on their laurels and watching to see who will be the 4th to join them in that guaranteed playoff spot. The rest, of course, you can see locked in. Those orange letters are the rest that will be filling in the ranks, and the 2 you're about to see are Selfless, you can see holding a measly 20 in comparison to their rivals Liquid, who are much higher up in the standings. So this is a big test for Selfless. Can they make it to the semi-finals, or will Liquid walk away with this one rather convincingly? There's no doubt that there is a lot of I don't want to say pressure on Selfless, but Liquid have looked so much better. We've seen a lot more of Liquid as of late, and that's what my boys here on the desk will be there to discuss. Now, I have to take a moment before I talk to you, John. I realize you haven't said anything. My face and my palm collided as I looked at Twitch chat when I mentioned Rafa, and I saw a lot of who's and a lot of what's and a lot of why do I care about this guy? We probably wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for someone forging a path in the FPS esports genre like Rafa. 18 Quake Live titles alone, and that's just titles as in just first places. 18 offline events that he picked up the first prize in. A master of his craft, and recently just won the QuakeCon as well. So he's proved that he's definitely still capable of bringing home the big bucks. And maybe, just maybe, he can be that missing link for Liquid, which is where I take it to John. The missing link for Liquid. There has been a little bit of job insecurity in that 6th man spot. Perhaps you could explain what's been going on there.
You don't say. It's very difficult for anyone to explain what's going on there if they're not following Liquid on a day-to-day basis sometimes, it feels, because their roster is constantly chopping and changing. To their credit, the organization is still looking for what could be the perfect fit. I question sometimes, because we're changing so often, do we really need it to be perfect? Can we be 99% of the way there? Because right now, it's very difficult to call Team Liquid settled. It's impossible to see how consistent they are, because it's very rare that we see the same roster for, say, more than a couple of weeks in a row. And I think that's a fair comment at the moment. I'm sure eventually they'll nail the right composition. Sure. And I'd be very surprised if Rafa wasn't good enough to go ahead and blow some heads open.
I mean, mechanically, there's no doubt about it. But what I do want to kind of discuss more in depth is the names that we've seen pass through. I know that you've got them on top of your head, ZP. We were pleasantly surprised by Kefri at one point or another. Where did he go wrong? Where did they all go?
I think Kefri, from what I understand, was more internal stuff where he was making decisions that they weren't really down for. But it's been rough for Liquid. I think right now, of course, the sort of one of the running stories and roster stuff right now is that there's 2 teams that have a sort of revolving door. You have Liquid in their 6th spot and the NRG support spot, the least secure jobs in Overwatch right now, to say the least. And we'll see how things work out. I think what we've seen here from Overwatch is that you can put a whole bunch of good Quake players on a team and not get good results, but you can sort of split them up and maybe get better results. So we'll see if Rafa, this is like a better home for him. than he's had. But we'll just have to see results. I will say going into this game that I feel like there's a lot more pressure on Liquid than Selfless going in.
Sure.
Just because Liquid, they have had points where they have been competing with the very top teams. Selfless is still looking to get to that point consistently. It would be a disappointment for them if they lose, but it would be absolutely devastating for Liquid if they were to lose.
Yeah, and that's what we'll be talking about next. Is admittedly, this conversation will primarily be surrounding Liquid, just because Selfless have given us less to talk about. But just want to address the maps while they are up on screen. You have Dorado, Hollywood, and Lijiang. So a little bit more of what we're used to. It's been I feel like we haven't seen too much Dorado. It's usually alongside Hollywood as the most common picks on your King's Rows. This time we start with Dorado and Lijiang. We do get one King of the Hill just to keep you guys interested. But back to the discussion in hand regarding Liquid. Now, this is an interesting one, ZP, because you said that they came in as dark horses in week 2.
Yeah.
Like, in week 2, we talked about them as dark horses. Week 3, they started causing upsets versus TSM. When do we stop calling these upsets? When do we just say that they're good?
When Liquid can do it consistently and not have random drops in their performance. The difference between Liquid right now and, say, a C9, of course, C9 did actually have a period where they were floundering a little bit too, but overall, you look at C9 historically. Very, very consistent. Had some trouble against Envy, of course, like every other team, but very high levels of performance. Liquid, not quite there. They haven't fallen off like Northern Gaming has, but they have the really big swings and ups and downs. So if they can get rid of the down swings, then you start talking to them about saying that they're there.
It's time to find out if Selfless can roar to decimating the boys from Liquid, or will the underdogs, or a dark horse that was Liquid many a times ago, put up a solid defense. Lots of silly and cheesy puns in there, but this is going to be a fantastic game to end the night for the Overwatch Open here in the North American region. It starts on Dorado. Let's see if it's going to be a party with ZP and Durasar casting.
All right, so this will indeed be a test. And Team Liquid, I think as you rightly said, ZP, it's very interesting to see if they're able to get some sort of consistency. I think they actually came in here on week 2, where they upset TSM in the quarterfinals, and week 3 they were just a solid showing throughout. So to be fair, they're consistently getting those kind of top 4 positions here, but we need to see this within the mechanics of a game. We can't have like silly decisions leading to team wipes and stuff like that.
Right, and for Liquid, I think this is somewhat of a statement game. I would expect them to come out here and not just try and beat Selfless, but crush them. If they can't do that, it's going to be rough times. I'm taking a look here at this Liquid offense. It will be ID on the Zarya, Mezar on the Reinhardt to hang, falling through on the Zenyatta. Rafa going to be on the Genji, so projectile DPS once more. AZK, of course, on the McCree in the back, and Minstrel going to round things out here on the Lucio as they're moving forward, and we'll see just how aggressive they are. But on Dorado, teams have multiple approaches, and sometimes teams will take a little bit of extra time before they really go in.
All right, and Rafa already up behind, actually getting a little bit ignored by Selfless so far and going, hang on a second, guys, I'm doing damage to you, pay attention to me. And that might actually end up costing Selfless quite a lot. Reinhardt trying to get him back, unable to do so right now. Rob was getting the first kill, though, before ID responding in kind for Liquid, and both teams looking like they're going to be settling back into their respective positions.
This isn't too bad for Liquid. I mean, they traded 1-for-1 there on the trade-outs, and they're going to have their 6 back before Selfless does, so they'll have a brief window of a 65 power play. And Rafa, you see right now, he's going in off the flank. I think he's looking for just that. The rest of Liquid is rushing right in. They're making space. The payload's moving up, and Liquid is slowly but surely starting to bully Selfless a little bit more here.
Here comes Transcendence being forced out there from a Team Liquid. Emon trying to get the Deadeye, unable to do so though because AZK has come on in. Mezar and Rafa are actually completing a triple kill in favor of Liquid en route to more or less wiping the entire team. Rob was the only person still standing in the marketplace, and Rafa is now going to make sure he does not come back in a hurry.
Yep, Rafa was able to get 2 cleanup kills at the very end. There was nothing really flashy or hypey about that, just it was a good push in by Liquid. They got the kills they needed. It was a solid flank by Rafa as the rest of the team went in, and it worked out really well. So Liquid taking point A without a whole lot of hassle, and this is the performance they need to come out with against Selfless.
Rafa at the moment just keeping people interested inside of the church as well, basically saying, Selfless, you can't afford to only look in one direction because I will be flanking at a moment's notice. So they're going to be thinking about that while they're also thinking about when they're going to be collapsing down onto the point. They have got the choice of when to do this though, and here we go. Juvenile popping on down, Emon looking for the targets there, and Chili just constantly providing DPS from up above. But Genji, Rafa now showing the sword for the first time. Is he going to be able to get the chop? He is not.
He got 1 kill off that, but unfortunately it was just way too low. Ended up dying to 1 more shot. Rob was getting to the back right now, looking to turn this back in favor of Selfless. Got 1 kill, looking for a little bit more. Has to get out. 1 HP. And meanwhile, let's take a look at AZK. AZK a little bit quiet in this game, starting to come alive, picks up 2 towards the end. This is going to let Liquid get more momentum here and actually turn this on Selfless. The Meta Selfless have to be careful, but there's the Graviton. There will be no retreat. The Deadeye from the back, AZK falling through. Juvenile going to go down. He's in hot pursuit. If they can pick off 1 or 2 more Joro here, this would be huge.
They can indeed. Looking for the extra pickoffs. I believe that was glued more or less to the payload there, but only Rob Wiz getting a kill off of Dahag. They need to make sure that Reaper doesn't end up being a continuous flanking threat here from Selfless. And inside, basically towards the spawn point here, actually, Rafa trying to harass as much as possible. Oh, bypassing a health pack, actually, on his way out. 17 hit points.
Yeah, Selfless is trying to fight this back. It has been a losing battle, but at the very least, it's been a losing battle with the buying time. Oh, here it comes, Earth Shatter in the Pulse Bomb.
Oh!
Iman with the triple kill. Juvenile setting him up. And, you know, we talk a lot about the Graviton into Pulse Bomb, but hey, if you have 3 people knocked on the ground close together, that works out just fine too.
It does indeed. That cloud looks like smoke, ZP, and unfortunately, that triple is actually going to allow Selfless to win that in the end. We were a little bit worried that that losing battle wouldn't be able to turn the tide. They needed a play like that, and they delivered.
It did, and they needed that too because Michael 3D, I don't think he should have used Graviton when he did. He didn't get a whole lot from it. Reinhardt was able to negate most of it. And usually if you waste the Graviton, it's hard to recover, but they were able to recover in the end. And Iman right now on the Tracer looking for the defensive flanks. Liquid going all, they were looking like they were going to go high ground. Now they're just coming up through the gut, and look at the ults that they have up here. They do have Transcendence and Dragon Blade. They get the first pick off on the Michael 3D. It's a 65, now 64. Mezar going off. Rafa in the back. Dragon Blade Unleashed has 2. Will get 3. And Rafa and Mezar just open the door.
They do indeed, and they're just going to walk straight on in. Casual stroll for Team Liquid now, going to the penultimate point, and those spawns are going to change very shortly indeed as the payload reaches its destination. So Selfless will now have to defend at the last. They're actually a little bit split up, and that allowed, by the way, Team Liquid to get the pick off on Dak very early on in this engagement.
Yeah, Dak is, it's an interesting case with him. There's sort of in the comp scene, there's the idea of pulling a Dak, because Dak, he's a good Lucio at being evasive, but he also pushes his limits a little bit too much and is prone to getting picked off. He just is. He tries to go a little bit too hard on Lucio. But take a look here at the next fight. Selfless should be able to turn this back. They do have Sound Barrier up in their arsenal here. Michael 3D has Graviton. A lot of ults here. If they don't win this next fight, it would be a shame, but it might just be a good Graviton by ID.
All right, well, one good Graviton can actually turn the tide of a battle. The question is, will they be able to land it? Here comes Rafa. He's moving in, looks for Lucio, and unfortunately for him, won't be able to get him because we do have the ultimate now being used. Still 3 ultimates available for Selfless, but one of them is on Michael 3D, who has gone down very early on in the engagement. Chili now being forced to use Transcendence to keep on top of the payload here. Still no picks off on Team Liquid. Finally, Mesa goes down, but Liquid at the moment showing an awful lot of stamina in this fight.
Liquid should not really be in this fight, but they are. There's Amon once
Wow.
more! The Pulse Bomb takes out 4! Oh my goodness,
It's like he heard
in the
you.
Pulse Bomb.
He definitely heard you there, ZP. They shouldn't really be in this fight, but they kind of... Oh, hang on a second.
It's just like, by the way, Michael 3D did find the right time for a Graviton, set them up, and Iman's just like, I got this. So Iman definitely on point with his Tracer fall-throughs in this game thus far.
And I completely agree with you, though. I mean, Team Liquid, they lasted a lot longer in that fight than you normally expect attacking teams going into this point where they've already lost someone early on. So we'll see how much they can do moving forward here, or whether Selfless will step up the defense, trying to get a quick kill in from Rob Wiz. He'll get Meza on the way down to the ground, so I guess that is something for him. But that was actually an excellent Earth Shatter coming out there.
Yep, and Liquid right now slowly slogging this out. They are getting the kills they need to get. AZK poking from the back line. No threats. Takes out Dak on the Chili. AZK now turning this into his own personal shooting range. Gonna take out Iman just for the triple, just to be sure. And Liquid now in prime position to end this map. Not a horrible defense, though, by Selfless. They bought themselves a whole lot of time here.
They have indeed. That was very, very impressive, actually. AZK, individual shots to the head there. Absolutely no qualms whatsoever. And some of these players are respawning and just getting killed 2-3 times by AZK. This guy is on an absolute tear right now. And, ooh, Graviton Surge into. Do we actually have the kills follow up? ID and Meza getting 1 each. Iman not quite able to make anything stick because Transcendence actually blocks that. So Dahang coming out there with some excellent timing, and Team Liquid are able to keep the sustain.
This is really good on both parts here. Liquid is doing a good job of cleaning up all the people that are coming in, but Selfless has done a good job of at least stalling this out. They've made more of a fight for it than I was expecting to begin with. They're buying very valuable time. It is burning off the clock. Even if Liquid caps this right now, it is a very respectable time that they have defended here thus far, and they're giving themselves a lot of opportunity here for their offense.
More and more heroes just popping out here. This is actually more or less a full minute for the last 5 meters that the payload was pushed. Chili Rob was Emon all going down now. This is basically a team wipe. There is only a Diva left. Michael 3D going to try and keep the hopes alive. Can't fly too far there, unfortunately, and Discord Orb is going to mean he gets taken out as well. That bought enough time for Emon. Another 3 seconds.
All right, so it took a little bit towards the very end, but Liquid able to clutch it out at the very end.
That was, I'd actually argue, if there was a textbook somewhere of if you're about to lose the point, how to actually defend and keep a game alive as long as possible, Selfless more or less just gave us that lesson.
Yeah, I do think it has a little bit to do with the recent respawn changes that have gone in as well, that they allowed them to sort of stall out that long, but it's still well executed. They were able to buy themselves a lot of extra time, but now they're going to have to prove it when they go in on their own attack, and for them, their first mission is don't get held at point A, otherwise it won't even matter.
So, first thoughts on Rafa's gameplay, because a lot of eyes are going to be on him. I think we had 1 or 2 nice plays with the ultimate on Genji. All in all, I wouldn't exactly classify it as a super standout performance. If I had to pick one player from that last game, it's still going to AZK, as this replay shows.
Well, I would definitely give it to AZK for a play of the game. However, the interesting thing about Rafa there, it wasn't that he was mechanically dominating. I mean, he had a fine game as Genji, but it wasn't the crazy, super high like Genji. I did think that the very smart decisions were being made, though, in terms of him flanking, calling it out to his team, and then moving in. And that's actually been a case where Team Liquid has been weaker in those areas in the past. So I do wonder if this is a case where Rafa is making a few more calls, and at least even if he's not just absolutely destroying people on Genji, he's making sure that the engagements are much better than perhaps what Liquid has been used to.
Sure. I think that's a good point as well, because that is something that people don't really see. It's a little bit behind the scenes. It has to do with the communications in the team. Do we think that, or rather do we know that Rafa is actually currently the shot caller for Team Liquid?
I would doubt that. I mean, you never know without asking a team. I feel like just joining the team becoming shot caller would be messing with things unless he really wanted to take that role. But we'll see how things go here.
All right, so we are beginning now. 7 minutes and 55 seconds in the attack if Selfless are to be Team Liquid here. Let's see how well they do as we move on to the second half of Dorado. Rafa now, but he's going to be picking up Zarya. Now, I'm quite excited to see this because, frankly, Zarya, very high skill cap hero. We know what kind of stuff Rafa is made of from his Quake exploits, so let's see what he can do here.
Right now, of course, the defense is just holding back. They're not going to extend too far here. If they get a pick off, they might, but other than that, they're going to make the offense Selfless come into the courtyard and have to bring it. That is the challenge of running offense here on Dorado, but as far as Selfless is making decent progress here, they're not really losing the poke war. That poke war is going to intensify very shortly.
It will indeed. We're looking for the collapse now onto the team. Juvenile thinking about AZ, trying to chuck a flashbang over the shield, but he actually gets propped back, and he's going to go ahead and move on back. Rob Wiz is going to go down, though. He couldn't actually keep that deflect up for long, and Juvenile coming in with the Earth Shatter. This is going to be the initiation, and Selfless are moving in. Emon and Rob was both down, though, and Juvenile now as well. They have to move back, but there's basically nowhere to go, and that is going to be a wipe in favor of Team Liquid. A little bit staggered in terms of deaths, too.
They did trade off a little bit, so Liquid's not going to be full strength right away. There is an opportunity for Selfless to keep pressuring there. I will say what great play and what an unfortunate play by Juvenile, where he built up his ult really quickly, but I think because he built it up so quickly, he was very eager to use it and didn't get a whole lot out of it either. Definitely could have saved it for a better engagement here where it would be awesome. Unfortunate, but here comes Robo's going to the back. Dragonblade at the ready. Going to be running right into Hank's Transcendence. Has to back out, and the AZK Deadeye takes him out right away. That is one Dragon that is neutralized. And here comes Team Liquid there, rushing in. They know they have advantage. 3 kills of Team Liquid, and they're going to mop up the rest of Selfless here.
Yeah, this is, well, we're just playing cleanup duty, as you mentioned, ZP. This should be more or less a formality for Team Liquid to hold at the moment. Still over 6 minutes, so if Selfless are able to break through right now, it is still comfortably possible, but if they get held 3 or 4 times in the archway here, then they're actually thinking 3-4 minutes ahead, going, hang on a second, are we getting held?
Well, the other thing, too, is there's 2 minutes left in the game clock. They have more pressing issues. They're going to be running into a sound barrier from Minstrel here. This should be Liquid's fight, but no, ID gets taken out early. ID has opened the door here for Selfless to come in. They will have the advantage even with the sound barrier coming up. Rob was on the Minstrel. 2 down here for Liquid. and this is a disaster for Liquid. They might have been looking at full hold. We'll see if they can turn it back. A nice Earth Shower does come down. AZK with the fall through. Mezar and AZK saying not like this. They come back in despite being down numbers, and this is going to be Liquid holding on here, and they're able to sort of bail themselves out of a jam where that could have gone very badly due to ID getting picked off.
It definitely could have. AZK actually dealing a lot of damage in the second half of that fight to prevent Team Liquid from going into a particularly bad position. ID trying to sneak away on Reaper, but unfortunately he gets someone right in his face and will get denied that ability to come in the back.
So this is the last gasp here for Selfless. They need to win this fight. This is their last window of opportunity. They are moving right in. The Graviton is out. Will they have to fall through? Iman does take out ID, but it's 1-for-1 right now. 5v5. The Dragon Blade on the way out. Robwiz moving to the back line, looking for the slices. Gonna get nullified by Zari in the beginning, but will take out AZK. Has a double kill. Moving forward, aided by the sound barrier. And Selfless, they're back against the wall, will get to the checkpoint and keep the hope alive.
That was absolutely crucial. If they got reset there, only Chili with an ultimate available, it would have taken them 10-20 seconds to get back onto the point. They don't want to have to rely on doing this in overtime. That's always a bad strategy in Overwatch if you can help it. So they're managing to get to this street space. And crucially, by the way, I really want to point out Robwiz already on the first floor, already trying to contest the church, trying to keep things a little bit interesting and prevent Team Liquid from dominating the high ground.
Yep, and this is what Selfless needs to do. Time-wise, they do have a bit of a buffer. They do have enough to maybe suffer a wipe or two here in the streets phase. They can't get complacent, though, and it'd be way better for their odds if they just cruised right through here. Ult-wise, it's probably not super likely. They're going to have to deal with both Earth Shatter and Deadeye here in just a moment. They do have Transcendence, so it works, but here comes Imani, takes out AZK. That is a super vital pick. They did lose Shilling back, and now ID going to work. Shotguns ablazing. Has a double kill right now in the back. Makes it a triple kill. ID coming alive in the very end. Gets 4, and that's going to be a hold here for Liquid.
Can we call out, though, that really, really cool play actually from McCree? Because we always see Genji on that ledge. It takes a lot of effort to get McCree up there because obviously he can't climb the walls, but it's really cool to see him leap around and flashbang. They didn't get the results they wanted, but the idea was nice.
Usually if you kill AZK that early in a fight, it's really good. Unfortunately, ID had other plans, and ID about to have a Death Blossom, so he might do it again in terms of just needling Selfless to death right here. We're going to take another look at ID. He's going to be looking to drop down. This is the danger zone for Selfless. They need to not die this. Here comes ID. Death Blossom ablaze. Does not get what he's looking for. Iman countering. There's 2 kills here for Selfless. They're moving in. Here come the happy little skulls from Iman. Takes out Rafa in the end. And here comes Selfless. 3 minutes remaining. And they can definitely move this forward and win this game if they keep this up.
Indeed they do. And Iman actually, they're getting a double kill in the meantime, not getting credited with all of the last kills, but contributing heavily to making sure 2 more members go down. Minstrel being the last person to lose his life there as the second checkpoint is now reached. And all of a sudden, Selfless are being set the task of roughly 2.5 minutes to win the map from Team Liquid here on the final point.
Magic number for Team Liquid here is 3 quick fights or 2 slow fights that they need to win. They do take out Iman and Robwiz right away, so this is looking very good for them. Mezar leaping right in. ID now is a Junkrat switch up, getting some value done, gets 2 kills at the very end, so that's 1. Now for Liquid, they need either 1 more slow fight, 2 more quick fights. Either one will give them a victory here against Selfless. So Selfless, their backs are truly against the wall. It's really going to come down to what they do with Sound Barrier. That's coming right up. They at least need to trade out with Minstrel Sound Barrier. If they don't, very unlikely that they're going to be able to take this.
It's interesting that ID switches onto Junkrat just for the last point. I feel like also this is partially in response to a lot of the teams coming through the doorway, so it's just really nice to be able to get that control with a lot of damage in that confined space. And now Liquid looking to control from the high ground, being very patient, looking for those pickoffs rather than immediately dropping down. And Selfless at the moment just wondering when they're going to be able to engage.
Yeah, and Liquid, they're buying a lot of time. Now, effectively, their magic number is about 1. They just need to win 1 more big fight. That is how much the spam from ID's Junkrat is really messing with Selfless right now. They do have Sound Barrier, they do have Graviton Surge. Michael 3D needs to land a good Graviton here to really set this up. It's not impossible if he doesn't, but that is really their most likely path to victory here with 1 minute 13 remaining.
It's still possible, actually. There's a minute. There's the Graviton Surge. We're looking for the kills. But we do have Sound Barrier immediately getting popped down from Selfless there, so trying to protect themselves to an extent. Robwiz coming in, trying to be the difference maker, but he gets taken out. And mid-ultimate, that's going to be very frustrating news for them. But 53 seconds now, and don't forget, overtime does not matter. They either beat the time or they do not.
Yeah, and it's looking like this is going to be a longer fight where Liquid's going to reinforce quicker. They're going to take out Selfless. Selfless needs to back out and just hope for one last gas. Here comes the tire. Runs Michael 3D right over. That's going to stagger the death. And now Selfless winning this is going to be so incredibly hard. ID moving in the shotgun blast concussive mine. And that should be it. 28 seconds remaining. So here's what Selfless would have to do. They'd have to somehow wipe out all of Liquid and then not get stalled down the point, which we saw from last game. Pretty easy to stall up for a while here, especially with how respawns are going right now. So for Selfless, this is all but over. Liquid looking like they're going to be taking Dorado.
12 seconds remaining now, and I'm afraid there is no way we're going to see the payload at its destination, but that's all right. A very, very nice game. Incredibly tight at times, I have to say. Liquid now coming out. All of the ultimates getting used up, and this is going to be what is basically a wipe just for pride. And a Liquid absolutely dominating the last minute or two of that game, but Selfless keeping it interesting until the final point.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting game here where I think Selfless is actually probably pretty happy with what they're doing here. Obviously, they would prefer to win, but it's not a bad showing. Liquid might even be slightly disappointed. They won, but they didn't quite come in and crush it the way that you would expect, say, an Envious to do. And when Liquid, they have their sights on the very top. They feel like they should be there. It's sort of a bit of both here because, of course, Rafa is new to the team. So at least for Liquid, they're winning this, and they're looking pretty decent in the process. But I do think for them internally, they probably wish they'd done it a little bit cleaner.
So we are now in a situation where Team Liquid are 1-0 up. Like you say, not a completely dominating performance, but probably also not where they wanted to be either. So they've gone away a little bit disappointed, and Selfless, obviously losing the map, have gone away a little bit disappointed as well. But a group of people that won't be disappointed are you guys, because we're going to be coming back with map number 2, and we're going to find out if Liquid can complete the 2-0 after this break. See you then.